Okay, what I'd like to do now is take a few minutes, and I do want to draw your attention in your manual to page 19, where you look at implementing the training and prepare the church for effective action. Do you see that about the middle of the page? Everybody nod at me if you see that. Page 19, implementing the training course. That's where the rubber meets the road, right? That's where we've got to turn all this into real life action. So the first bullet there, develop a leadership team, then prepare a volunteer mobilization system. All that's gold. As we look down those bullets, those are gold. So those of you that are looking for practical, tangible, concrete things to take back to your congregation, you want to think along those lines, okay? What I'd like to do just for the next few minutes is talk about developing a leadership team to drive this in your church. And what, my job at First Baptist Concord is I'm a local missions pastor, so I help oversee ministries that reach out and impact our community. The single parent ministry at our church, though, doesn't come under outreach. It comes under family ministries. And that would be, I'm going to take just a minute to say, that might be a good idea for you to think about, too, as you develop your outreach to single parents or the single parents in your congregation. Don't put it under your outreach. Put it under your family ministries. Make it part of the mainstream of what families get in your congregation, because what we discovered is we don't want single parents to feel like an outreach project. We want them to feel mainline stream, part of all the families as our church. So just think structurally, you might want to stick this under family ministries rather than the other. In terms of a leadership team, we began really to feel our way through this. We did everything right in the terms of we created ministry descriptions. We did some studying on, or I did a little bit on teams, and then we dove in. And what I'd like to do now is ask Angela Blaylock to come. She's the leader of our single parent family ministries at our church, out of First Baptist Concord, and share just a few minutes about some of the highs and the lows that she's experienced as she's begun to try to form a single parent ministry leadership team. And she's right in the middle of this right now, okay, and has experienced some very discouraging times. It's been really hard, but also some really neat highs, some real successes. And so what we're going to try to do on this whole journey with each other is none of us are going to try to impress each other, right? We're just going to try to just open up and be real with each other. So you help us, we help you. Let's just say, for the glory of God and the help of single-parent families, we're all going to share whatever we have with each other, okay, whatever learnings. By the way, are there any in the room that have lots of experience developing teams? Just team, I know Art Allen does, and Pat does. Okay, good. We're going to really lean on some of you that have years of experience developing teams, okay? Angela, come forward, and she's going to talk about 10 minutes. Just tell her story a little bit, and then but the primary focus is how she's gone about forming a single-parent leadership team. And then if she doesn't hit anything, I'm going to ask her some questions, okay?
Well, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. Doesn't sound like I'm on. Well, I'm excited just to share a little bit of my story with you and what I have been doing the last year. Actually, as I think about being involved in single-parent family ministry, God has been working in my life for probably 4 years, and I didn't even know what he was up to. As a matter of fact, 4 years ago when Andy had the first roundtable meeting at Westtown Christian Church, I was there. I don't know why I was there. At the time, I didn't know why I was there. I showed up and I was listening to all these people talk about single-parent ministry, and I didn't really know what was going on, but I was there to listen. So from there on out, I continued to come to all the roundtable meetings that I could come to. And again, I didn't feel like I had anything to contribute, really, but I was there to listen. So God was already building into me and building into my life what he was going to be calling me to do, and I didn't have any idea about it at that time. So at that time, I had worked with women in ministry for many, many years, but I had not worked in a ministry specifically for single parents until I came to our church and started volunteering in the Well, which is a single mom ministry that we have. So that was in 2010. So I started serving there. So after I had been there volunteering, about a year later, then we had a leadership change, and I ended up assisting the leader. And all of a sudden, I found myself deeply involved in single parent family ministry. So now I'm really starting to figure out what God has called me to do. So last year we sat in meeting after meeting, talking about this stuff, about how are we going to welcome single parents into our church, how are we going to really walk with them and empower them. So then the news came that leader was going to leave and she was going to move back to Memphis. And so then I began the task of praying for who's going to be our leader. Well, as God would have it, all that he had been doing in my life up to this point in time, he called me to be the leader. And even though at that time that was something that was quite overwhelming to me, because as Andy mentioned, we had these grand ministry descriptions, and as I read them, I thought, ooh, I don't know if I can do this, Lord. But at the end of the day, you know how it is with the Lord. It's not about what we can do. It's about our availability. So because God was building this into my life, and he made it known in such an awesome, really overwhelming way to me, you're the one that's supposed to do this. At the end of the day, my answer is either I'm going to obey or I'm going to disobey. And so it was no longer about I can't do this, because God said, you're not going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it through you. I said, okay, here we go. So then I began the task of forming a leadership team, okay? And so I knew that I had to adjust my life to God and what he was doing and where he had already been working in my life. So these were what I call these God-sized assignments. And those assignments that say, we're going to see what God can do here, not what Angela Blaylock or First Baptist Concord can come up with. So as I was, walking through this and, thinking about my inadequacies, of course, the scripture that always comes to my mind is, my grace is sufficient. His power is made perfect within us. So, and I love what William Blackaby says about missions. He says, missions is God finding those whose hearts are right with him and placing them where they can make a difference for his kingdom. So I began the challenges of building this leadership team. So one of the first challenges that I had was finding volunteers. I had just been in the church about 4 years, Andy, and I really felt like I didn't know a lot of people. So all of a sudden, I have to rely on the Lord to bring people to me. Say, God, I don't know all the people, all the leaders that are already in this church. Will you bring them to me? And Andy had the great idea of going and meeting with the ministers, so I went and met with all the different ministers, and I said, number one, this is what the vision of single parent family ministry is, and shared that with them. And also, can you give me some names? And so that was a great opportunity to meet and talk with the ministers. And as a matter of fact, that was the way that I got my prayer coordinator, Sonia, which is sitting back there, because one of the ministers had given me her name, and I was able to connect with her. So first challenge is finding volunteers in your church, okay? And then time, finding volunteers that has a heart for single parent ministry, that has even greater heart for the Lord, yes, that has time. That's 3-4 very important things. So, and even for me having the time to build a ministry, because here we already have the Well going on that I'm directing, starting new programs, the luncheon. So for me to take the time to be able to build the single parent leadership team. So time is a huge challenge that we have. And then, of course, the sense of inadequacy, I talked about that with me as a leader, feeling like I've never been a single mom. I haven't been in their shoes. I don't really understand all that it means. And so I felt that, but yet as I go to people in my congregation, they feel that too, going, can I fulfill this role? Again, look at those ministry descriptions going, I don't know, can I do this? So a challenge is having that sense of inadequacy, but God always wants us to come back to him on that. And then also a sense of pressure. When we start a ministry, we want to get going in it, don't we? So we want to set our goals and say, okay, a couple of months, we're going to have these ministry descriptions out there. We're going to have our team filled. Well, it doesn't always work that way, does it? And I love the scripture that says, let me find this here. Well, of course, Philippians 4:6, where God said, don't be anxious about anything, but by prayer and supplication, let your requests be made known to me. So there was times that Andy would look at me and say, you're anxious. And I said, I know. I'm trying not to be, but I am. Because I felt this pressure to get these teams built because I wanted to. And also for me, as I built the teams, that took pressure off of me as well. Because until I get these leadership positions in place, then, a lot of that work I'm having to do myself. Let's see. Sure, go right ahead, okay.
We're going to transition now just in the few minutes we have left. Angela has really done such an amazing job. As we talk through, let's see, where's our tip sheet? Let's get that tip sheet. Yeah, just lay it here. As we've tried to build this church out of First Baptist Concord, and I just wanted to give you, again, just a sample. It's been a very up and down journey. One thing that's worked well for us is having Angela meet once a month. Mm-hmm. Initially, it was more than that. Every other week, we had a scheduled meeting where she would come back to us, have a punch list, things she was trying to do. So one recommendation I would make is have the leader of your single-parent ministry meet with a pastor or somebody that can give some encouragement and cheerleading initial days every couple of weeks, because they're going to need it as they go out. That's the thing we really discovered, is Angela would go out and try to implement these grand ideas. She'd come back and, I tried that. You said, do that. I tried it. It didn't work. I tried that. It didn't work. And so just talking to your single-parent ministry leader is going to need lots of encouragement. So that's one thing. Then we eventually did say, okay, I want you to go down and sit and talk face-to-face meeting with every pastor we've got. So she took lots of time and went and did face-to-face meetings with key people in our church, and that really tended to break things open. Once they got that face-to-face talking, so it takes time, but we would recommend, based on our experience, that you do go and talk and sit and talk to your key lay leaders, talk to your pastor, sit down and take the time to build that relationship, share the vision with them, and one-on-one, share with them what kind of person you're looking for, that kind of thing. Now, we did start out with a detailed set of ministry descriptions, and by the way, all that's available on Dropbox. I mentioned Dropbox yesterday, that big box in the sky. You give us your email, you're going to get an invitation to Dropbox, and you'll see these sample ministry descriptions. They're too much, though. I'll warn you. We're going to have to minimize them some, make them a little simpler, and that's kind of a next assignment for us. We have hired, though, a volunteer mobilization consultant, coach, that we're going to make available to the group on a limited basis, but available to kind of look over your strategies and that sort of thing, okay? And she's going to help us with ours. All right, just look at your tip sheet real quick. And Angela, I just used to here right beside me, because if there's something here that you want to weigh in on, the reason, and Angela, is your team fully built right now?
No, it is not.
Okay, who's not on your team?
Well, I still have some key players that are not on my team. I'm still looking for some key coordinators.
Okay, so you might be wondering, well, who do I put on a team? And again, if you'll look, we do have a sample in the back. That table in the back there has all the stuff that's up on Dropbox. We do have ministry descriptions with what does a full team look like, at least from our perspective, okay? So you can get that, and you can start with that. You can pare it down if you want. But a couple of our hardest, most challenging positions still are not filled, okay? So we're right in the middle of this. We're close. We have, how big is the team? Total that you want to be.
There's probably about 12 different positions that I'm trying to fill.
Well, that's about as big a team as you, that's really too big to be called a team.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 12 on your total, your big team, or your
The big team.
is 12 people.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an executive team, or is that?
That's under the leadership team.
Okay, so there's more
Yes.
positions under that.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. There's still coordinators and there's under leadership
So there's a
positions.
pretty extensive, different ministry descriptions that you can see, and again, you might want to start out with 4 people on your team and build from there, okay? But we're right in the middle of doing that, and if you start on that journey, we'd love to just all of us begin to network together. How are you doing building your team? How are we doing our building team? What are we learning from each other? We want this to be one great big learning community, okay? Share what you got. As we walk down through this tip sheet, all right, I'm not going to read it for you just for the sake of time. You can read that just like I can. One thing that we did, a big aha for us, was to recruit around passion first. Now, we're told that, we all kind of know that, but I can just say it's really been right for us. Not, initially it was go out and find people to fill this ministry description, but that was really challenging. What we discovered was, hey, do you care a lot about single-parent family ministry? Have you got some background experience? What is your experience? Get them in a room, kind of see who God brings to a vision night. We did have several vision nights where we just have a dinner, feed them, announce that we were going to have this in the different groups of the church, that sort of thing. They came, and we did also allow, we had a vision night where we allowed those volunteers to speak to us about what they thought the church should do in the next 5 years. So we did gather. Touch the ball, especially works for guys. Touch the ball strategy. You want as many people can touch the ball to go down and score. I'm sorry for the sports analogy, but I have 6 boys. I'm thinking sports all the time. But, you want as many who are going to pour into your ministry to touch the ball, get in, and have something to say. So these vision nights allow you to bring people to the table. You say, our church really wants to get in the game with single-parent family ministry. What do you all think it should look like? And you give them some free time, some space, and let them write, and then you have some big group and let them write up on the board. That's the way to get everybody kind of touch the ball, okay? And then you can kind of build. But start with that passion. You'd agree. Start with the passion. Yes. Okay. And that's number 3 there. Number 2. Passion identifies where to serve. Number 3 there, I think that is an interesting point, is to allow those that are serving to do the asking. Like, at our church, what we did, when I'll form a team, I'll say, okay, I see this in you. We vetted your name through other people, and we collectively see this in you, and we'd like to invite you to consider this. So that's how we do. We give an individualized invitation. I see this gift in you. We see this gift in you. It's not just me, but we vetted your name by some people. We'd like to extend you an invitation to pray about this, and we send them a ministry description, or that sort of thing. We tried that with this, but it never went anywhere. Right. It worked with some of the teams they did, but it didn't work for her. And so what we then did was just begin to go to the ministry and ask for names and just really kept being faithful, holding the meetings and that sort of thing, and then it began to spring loose. So a couple of different ways to go at that. Follow your gut, but I will say the individualized ask based on I see this in you. Now, I'm taking leadership team training from a couple of different sources, and one advice that another coach gave was start small. Think 2 people, 3 people, and then you can add to that. Don't start with 12 people. And remember, a good team is what? Really max around 8 people. I mean, the best are in the 5, 6 range, 7 range. So you want to be careful about getting these great big teams that don't know each other, that sort of thing. And let me just say, in our next session in April, we're going to much more fully deal with this whole topic, okay? We're going to have a much more professional and complete training on how to build teams. So that's coming. At this session, what we wanted to do was simply get you thinking about building a team, and then go out. Your homework assignment is to go out and begin to recruit people who are passionate, who show some leadership ability, some administration ability, some leadership ability, who might have some time. And that's all we're asking you to do. Bring those people to the next training in April, and then we're going to kind of train together on that. Okay, we're not even saying you got to train your own leadership teams completely. Bring them back in April. You're passionate 2, 3, 4 people, 5 people. Bring your whole team if you have more, and together we'll do some team training. All right, we're almost done here.
Andy, something else we did is we made the video, and we set up a table in the gathering space and gave the people an opportunity to sign up and say, I'm interested in working at the well. I'm interested in volunteering with our lunches. I'm interested in being on the handyman team. Several different areas for them to serve, and I ended up with about 20 new volunteers that way.
Very good. We did take the time to get a video made and then showed it around and use that as a recruiting way to say, hey, this is what it's about. People needed to feel it. They needed to see it. They needed to just feel the emotion of it, okay? So you want to make your invite real and personable and concrete and come alive kind of thing. Help people have to feel it. Okay, very good. I do want to say this. In contrast to most ministries in your church, single parent, theoretically, single parent ministry, there's advocates hidden throughout your whole church because so many of us have been touched by the single parents. I was raised by a single parent family. What you find is where it's businessmen in your church, businesses, whether they're teachers or professionals or whatever, people have all been touched by single parent ministries. So you're tapping into their past and you're saying, hey, come be part of this growing movement in our church. Our church really wants to get in the game and begin to make a difference in our community for single parent families. Is that something that really resonates with who you are? A lot of times you're going to find you've got allies where some of these other ministries, you know, it's not been as much of a direct connection. So tap into that. Okay. Let's see.
And also, Andy, just say something. Everyone that I have talked to in our church about this ministry, they have been very supportive to me. No one has said to me, because I know we talked about that some people may say, well, you know, we don't want to be supporting divorce or things like that. But everyone in our church has been very supportive, and they have had people in their family that have been divorced.
So I think what you're going to find is, we'll get you, Deanna, you're going to find that you are going to find, by and large, positive support for this ministry. Deanna, go ahead.
Just a question, because I really feel at Cokesbury we need more involvement from the single parents in the single parent ministry. Are you having luck with that? Are you getting single parents being involved in your ministry?
Yes, I do.
Let me repeat the question. The question is, how involved are we at getting single parents themselves involved in running the ministry and be a part of the ministry and giving input?
I have at least a fourth to half of my team that are single parents.
Now, I did talk to a pastor, a large church in our city, who was trying to, didn't have him here today because he was trying to put singles in charge of single parent ministry completely. He thought, you know, I need to put all single people in charge of single parent ministry. That was his mindset. And I said, brother, why? What's your thought? And he said, you mean I don't have to? No, you know, have a team with, you know, with who God leads to it. And yes, make sure there's some single parents involved or on the team, but it doesn't have to be dominated by single parents on the team. In fact, a lot of times that's probably not a good idea.
Yeah. Ron.
Rhonda, yes.
A while ago, Andy, and I hope you can remember this, you gave me a statistic. You may not want to give it to me again, I don't know. But it was the number of families at your church that were single or blended families, their percentage.
Yes. Yeah. There's actually a number of us that have gathered together and tried to form something called a family pastor network. And what we've discovered in a lot of the larger churches, anywhere from 25 up to even 50% of our congregations are single parent or blended parent family. We had one congregation say even 60% they thought of their congregation was single parent or blended family. So what the reality is that single parent families are everywhere. Okay, so to avoid this or not get involved, it's lunacy. Okay, we're gonna. Yeah.
Why are we running churches around this sort of idea that there's around cookie cutter families that get married and have children and.
All right, we're gonna stop here. We're gonna give Heidi one last shot, and then we're gonna end here.
Yeah, and just to say, we have a tool called a household census, and that's one of the online tools that you'll have access to after this training. And the household census is a survey, a questionnaire instrument that you hand out to households in your church so you can get an exact percentage of single parents, married couples with children, singles, etc. So I think that is very useful information for a church to have.
Excellent. Okay, we are going to obviously hang around and talk. You've got 15 minutes. I will be out there and corral you back in. Have a break.